Good evening. It's Monday, July 15th, 6 p.m. Welcome to the Newfane Selectboard meeting. We have a nice agenda tonight. I'd like to welcome Katie Johnson-Aplin, myself, Angela Litchfield, Mike Fitzpatrick on the phone, and Golob is somewhere in New York at her apartment. And we're missing Jeff Chevalier, who might try and join at some point. Juanetta, has this meeting been properly warned?
Yes.
Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? I would like to welcome our Green Mountain Power representatives and ask if we can move them up to before the road foreman and commissioner report in case he has any questions for you as well. Is that okay with everyone?
I think that's great.
Excellent.
Get you guys out of here sooner.
And hopefully no calls tonight. Are there any other additions or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, let's go to the approval of the July 1st regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
I will second it.
And then we'll have that discussion. Thank you, Katie. Discussion.
There is a note regarding the invasive plant portion. Henry Carr has a license and it's just in the process of reorganizing and will get back with us when that's ready. So that part needs to change. And then otherwise, everything looks okay.
Okay. So are we able to vote to approve the minutes with the amendment? Okay, all those in favor say aye with the amendment.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained? She's still busy. Okay, ayes have it. Good evening, folks from Green Mountain Power. Tim and Don, glad to have you.
Great.
Always look forward to hearing from you all.
Thank you, Annette, for getting us on the agenda. Tim Jones, Program Manager in our Transmission and Distribution Group. And Don Mills is our Operations Supervisor, supervises our Brattleboro District, which covers this area. We wanted to come tonight really just more of as a presentation at this point to talk about some of the reliability and resiliency projects that we've been into solidly really for the last year in the region. Probably noticed, we've been rebuilding Route 30, essentially from the dam right now. I think we've gotten it all the way down to Harmonyville. We have a couple of other projects planned overhead that will take it from Harmonyville essentially to the flea market, and then flea market, on down here into the village overhead. And those are typically done under our state highway permitting and so forth, so we don't really need any specific permission from the town on that. But what we do want to talk to you tonight about is getting the town's partnership for the other project that we've been doing, which is the undergrounding project, which we've been into, that started last summer at the Scott Covered Bridge. We are currently made it all the way now to the intersection of East Dover Road. And so we are complete our work in Townsend and Wardsboro. And I think next week-ish, we'll be moving and going all the way out to East Dover to the end of the dirt, where it turns to pavement on North Street in Dover.
Yep.
That's our next project. Obviously, we turned right at Townsend Dam, Newfane Road, South Wardsboro Road. We did not have that section of line coming this way into Newfane in our original plan. And as we've been working, again, just branching out and looking at what the opportunity is then to do what we're doing in those communities and rebuild some of the similar infrastructure in the town of Newfane. In order to do that, obviously, we come to the select board, and we would come back with a specific ask, but working with the roads department and our operations team, just getting out there, looking at what we're doing, talking about what we would possibly like to do for undergrounding in Newfane as well, and then sort of that's where we are. So no specific project, but we do certainly have some ideas up in the South Wardsboro Road area, and we're going to be continuing to work in the area overhead along Route 3 corridor. Don's really the technical expert in terms of what we're thinking we can possibly get done back up in there, but you can kind of go on, or if you have any specific questions about, what our partnership needs are, or how you can take a closer look at what we're doing.
So kind of at this time too, while we have the machine there working, we'd also like to ask your permission at some point to start working our way down South Woodsboro Road towards the town of Newfane through the dirt. Probably all the way down to Sir Isaac Newton Road, and then we'll tie it in with the aerial there.
And that's all the underground.
That would all be underground the whole way down through there. Right now I have two designers looking at that, looking at the feasibility and coming up with like a preliminary design for that. But I can work with Jay as well.
Yes.
To make sure that we address any concerns that he has moving forward with that.
I did go look at what you've been doing. I wasn't thrilled with the way some of it was being done. The culverts, it was totally unacceptable. So if there's a way of doing it outside in our ditch, away from the culverts, that would be, a preferred method than going down the road and ripping up the culverts. And I understand originally they were supposed to replace the culvert completely, but they had switched to just patching them at this point.
So we got permission from Jake to just put a sleeve on there. And working with Travis as we move into Dover, we're gonna replace like the whole half. So the half we trench through, we'll replace that half with brand new culvert. And if it's an older metal culvert that has a little bit of rust on it or is starting to break down, then we'll replace the whole culvert.
Well, the problem is, we've had a lot of problems with culverts and damaged roads up through South Wardsboro Road and on those roads, so I think that's a huge concern. If you're just replacing half and not a whole, if something happens. Is that correct, Jay?
Yeah. I just looked at what had been done, and I just don't see that working here. Is there a way of having it go down the ditch line rather than in the middle of the road?
Well, for one, the machine won't work in the ditch line. Just the way that the cutting wheel works on that machine and running it in the ditch line. Our other concern is later on when you go back to re-ditch it, like making contact with that cable that's in the ditch line. We're trying to make sure that we mark everything. Like there's areas where we'll go diagonally across the road and hit another section, and we've been marking all those areas out, as well as we're working to kind of put that into some sort of mapping system that you would have access to, so that when you go back to ditch or plow or do anything else, and whether you had to dig up the road in certain areas or not, all that stuff will be mapped out. And we've been working pretty well with Jake and Travis and some of the other towns, as far as the road foreman being out there and taking a look at everything and giving his approval and just, so anything that you want to add to it, in most cases, we're more than willing to help with that.
So maybe a conversation between all of you, just to see what's happening and some ideas thrown around.
Yeah, I think that's all just, just keep an open mind about it until let's go out in the field, look at everything, how many culverts we're talking about. We do have a specialized process for doing the lifts and recompacting the road, redressing the road and so forth. So we've perfected the art a little bit more than when we started out last summer. So certainly we've learned some things, and we can't partner with you unless we know what your issues are, and it's not going to work for everybody, so
Right.
we're realistic about that. So
But I do know that it's been a topic of conversation around here for a while, especially right along Route 30. Is there a design that you have in mind when you come down through the villages? Yeah, or no?
So right now, our preliminary design is to start working our way from the bridge by Riverbend, and moving all that roadside to where it hits the old railroad bed, which is our right of way currently, and then burying the cable in that old railroad bed and getting that all the way down to the flea market.
Okay.
We've also got specific sections, like in that flea market area, like coming up over the hill by the firehouse there, that seem to always get hit by trees.
That'd be so nice in the winter, won't it?
So our plan is to run Hendrix wire there as well, so that's a steel messenger with insulated conductors, kind of limits the amount of outages that we have. Trees can lay on it in most cases and it doesn't take the line, as well as there's times where the pole gets broken and people still lose power. So we come out there, make it safe, and stand the pole back up and move the conductors over, put them on the new pole without interrupting power at all. And then we have other sections heading all the way back towards the substation in West Dumfries there. And so there's sections of large pines and stuff like that, as well as where it goes down around the New Brook Elementary School there, moving that more roadside, so that's more accessible. In long-range planning too, there's also discussion with our substation team to put in a new substation as well.
Oh, really?
That would feed out of the existing Newfane substation, which is Velco's. We own a certain portion of that, and then the other plan is to use the transmission from Velco as opposed to our own transmission loop, which sometimes has interruptions, and this way too, once we connect everything with larger conductors, we can feed all the way to East Jamaica, or East Jamaica can feed back in this direction,
Oh, that's
so that we have substation backup.
excellent.
So that's where we're at next, the next 3 to 5 years, obviously we're ongoing here, but, I think it takes a little while to plan and entitle these, and so that's the next batch of work that we probably be ready to design and come forward with. This is design, this is ready to go.
What's the estimated timeline for some of the smaller roads that have stuff that just cuts through the woods for miles?
So a lot of that stuff that cuts, where are you?
I live on Adams Hill, over at the other end of town, but we have at least 2 sections that go out for different loops that are straight through the woods.
Yeah, so some of the older CD stuff, as well as anything that was served by the Electric Co-op, kind of ran in a straight line. And at certain points that was all field, and now it's all grown up. Or they just cut right away through the woods and ran the wire in the fastest way possible.
It's a great ski trail. It's really steep.
So like our long-term goal is to move everything either roadside or bury it in the road.
Right.
Burying it in the road is probably the best we can do as far as system reliability, because one, we don't have to keep doing the maintenance of the trimming, which is on a 7-year cycle. And we know that after we trim it 15 feet back, within 7 years, it's gonna grow back 15 feet and be touching the wire again.
Yeah.
So that benefits us as well as it benefits the customer as far as system reliability and service reliability, so.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people are hoping for anyways, to have the buried wires.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just curious, like, I understand doing the big stuff first and the really problematic areas first, but when do the other things start to happen?
So I guess like as we work our way out, so right now, like, we're looking at which circuits are the least reliable. And then we're starting on those. East Jamaica happens to be the worst as far as reliability goes, so that's why we're working on Route 100 there. We're working on Route 30 as well, coming out of the East Jamaica sub. And then also the VH4A area, which was old co-op.
Hold on, time out, we are not a quorum anymore.
Oh, what happened?
I'm not sure what happened with them.
I'm here. And
Okay.
I'm here, sorry. I just
As long as we don't-
I've been here the whole time.
So they're easy.
There we go.
Okay, we're back, sorry about that.
Yes, so right now we're putting an interduct in, which gives the ability for 3 fiber companies to use that duct. And so right now that goes in, that's the orange that you see out there if you're driving through Wardsboro right now, taking a look at that
I wish my dad was alive to see this happening.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it sounds pretty wild. One other question, it has nothing to do with the lines, but the trees that are problematic, like the pine trees that keep falling, are you working to get those trimmed back or cut?
So
Like in problematic areas, like outside of the firehouse, by the garage up here, every year without fail, at least 2 or 3 times a year, we're up there. And it's those trees right on the wires that are causing problems.
right. So what'll really help with that is the spacer cable for the Hendrix wire.
Oh, yeah?
Once we put that in, like, a lot of times, especially like up at the firehouse there, it takes like one branch, it lays across the wire, and then it burns the wire down. And then we lose, most of the time we lose the whole thing.
And then we're hanging out all night.
So that, the spacer cable will help with that, as well as we'll come in prior to running that spacer cable and do a little tree trimming and move it back, so. But, problematic areas, like, I'll turn those into Asplon and we'll get them out there.
Oh, great.
And
It's just
so
something to
that
think about before we get
stuff like
to
that, right.
winter. Excellent. Any questions, Jay? Do you have anything? You're on mute.
I think I'm all set for now. I'd be happy to meet with them when they want to go look at some of those spots.
I think that would be great, just to maybe another town with similar road situations to go over plans and such.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jay, anytime this week, if you want to give me a call, I can meet you up in Wardsboro or in over there, and you can kind of take a look at what's going on, what the plan is, and then, give your input and see how we can both work together and get this done.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here and thank you for the input. I'm looking forward to seeing this project happen. It's very exciting.
So, thanks.
Thank you so much. Take care and be safe. And thank you for all your hard work that you do.
Hey, you're welcome.
And with that, we'll move right along to the road foreman and commissioners report. Good evening.
Good evening. I finally have a second tree company coming this week to look at the Williamsville Hall trees. Tree guys seem to be very busy. We had a meeting for the sand salt shed and it was decided to terminate the contract with Bell Engineering and to get guidance from the town attorney on the correct process to do it. The state has a list of pre-approved engineers to try to move us forward with a different design. Nothing new on Adams Hill Bridge. I reached out to him again, the new guy, and didn't get an answer back. MSK was going to send out one of their people to the gravel pit to figure out the spots to check the groundwater depths. And I put up new no parking signs on Grimes Hill at the pull-off, and they lasted 2 days and were thrown over the bank. Laura Bacon owns that property there. And she had called because the signs used to be there for years and then they got taken down. We put them up and they're taken down again. I don't know quite how to go about it other than to try to cement a post in or something, see if that will last.
Okay.
And I read the letter about Carroll Trail. I was on the trail a couple of years ago searching for a lost child, and I can confirm that there's no way to access the Dover side of the trail. And my other question is, we have two Monday, I'm trying to get some stuff out to bid, and everybody keeps holding things up on me. But is it possible to do a Zoom meeting like the 29th? 'Cause I'm going to be on vacation. I'll try to tune in that meeting in August, but just in case it's poor signal, is it possible to do a Zoom meeting like the 29th just to open some bids? Well, I'm still here.
Schedule a special meeting for that, yeah. I don't see why not. I'm available. Anyone else?
I will be returning from upstate and available in the evening.
For like a 5:30?
Mm-hmm.
And can you be available by Zoom at a 5:30-ish?
I'm sorry, what date was that?
July 29th.
Monday the
Yes.
29th.
Yes.
Mike?
What is it?
July 29th, about, I would say 5:30, the earlier the better.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just like a special meeting then?
Just a special meeting to open some bids for Jay before he goes on vacation.
What bids are them?
Huh?
What bids are they?
What bids?
I'm going to try to get Hunter Brook Bridge out. I'm hoping to get the South Wardsboro Road Bridge out. Yep, Roy Brooks Road Bridge. Get all of those out.
Okay.
Bridge,
3 bridges
Yep.
bridge bids. I was trying to say that without
without messing up.
tongue twister. I think we can set that up,
Get your
correct?
time up, get them all out, back, good?
What did you say?
I didn't.
What was
hear.
that,
Get
Mike?
your time up to get it in and out?
Do you have enough time to get the bids?
In and out.
I believe so, as long as I had the bridge guy gave me how he thought it should be done, and then Scott Jensen had a different idea how it should be done. So I'm trying to get those two to agree on one method and send it out. But yeah, it should be fine. I'll do a pre-bid meeting next week some point, and we should be good.
Sounds good. All right, is there a motion to approve the road foreman and
I make a
commissioners?
motion to approve the road commissioners report.
Second?
I second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. I would have to say thank you for keeping on top of 1, 2, 3,
Oh, God.
4. I have a question about 5. Does anybody have anything for 1, 2, 3, or 4?
I just had one question.
Okay.
I know you said that MEK is coming in to go to the gravel pit and do the
Yes.
work. How are you feeling overall about them?
Good, very good.
Great.
They're I've seen emails zipping back and forth between the sound guy and them, and I think they're on top of it.
Excellent. Great. I'm so happy. I'm so relieved.
Yeah.
I bet you are, both of you. Number 5, where on Grimes Hill Road are you talking about?
If you're coming from Williamsville, you go up the hill and right at the flat, there's a little pull out to the right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
2 cars maybe?
Yep. I guess on the weekend, not this weekend, but last weekend, there was an actual full-size bus and some cars in there, and she just wasn't real excited with having all those people parking there again. It had kind of stopped. It was just kind of used for people to pull off and use their phone or whatever, and now it seems to be going back to being used for the swimming hole a lot.
Yeah, if it's the spot I'm thinking of, it was full yesterday too.
Yeah.
I guess just keep putting it back, right? As long as she wants them there for no parking. Do we have no parking signs down by, is it Railroad Lane?
Those are the state had to do, and I don't know that they've done them, but there hasn't seemed to be a problem yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure, just because that is one of our drives that people are concerned about.
Yeah.
Even this weekend was a nightmare down on Route 30.
That was a nightmare.
I wish
Is
we,
there a guardrail around that corner right quick?
what was that?
One more
Mike?
time?
Isn't there a guardrail right along that pull-off?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's one there. Yeah, there's the beginning, but then there's an open spot there.
I'm just wondering if you put that no parking sign, drive it in by the bandrail and pull it to the bandrail too.
I think it's a little far below it. It almost needs to be up in the middle of the parking area.
I
Okay,
guess probably something if you had a violators will be towed, you don't want to go run, I'll get the idea probably.
Or have the sheriff sit there and scare them away. I'm allowed to park here, but you cannot.
What about videos or cameras, put up a sign that video cameras are hidden to observe or
do we
something?
have video cameras in the budget to put on all pull-offs? where people don't want people parking.
Yeah.
So, but that's a neat idea.
Trail cameras.
I would say just to continue putting the signs up. Do you recover them over the bank?
We did.
Excellent. So recycle, reuse.
Yep.
Is there any way for us to I know it's a kind of a delicate situation because the land that most people are parking on is Route 30 and a different town, but Dummerston must have feelings about this too, right?
Well, because most of that off Route 30 parking is V-Trans and Dummerston.
Right, but they must have feelings about it too, theoretically, right? Can we work with them to get the sheriff there?
Well, what can you do? There's nothing that says they can't park there.
Yeah, I don't think it affects Dummerston much.
Somebody's gonna die, and I just hate that that's a reality.
Unfortunately, they did put up that flashing light so people would maybe slow down. I would say folks that have an issue with that parking area on Route 30 that is in fact in the town of Dummerston should contact V-Trans, since it's Route 30 and they are in charge of that road. Anything else for number 5? Not moving right along. We did receive a letter back in May, and I was approached at an event if we had received it, and we have in fact. It's from Richard and Regina Warner regarding Carroll Trail, dated May 10th, 2024, to the town of Newfane Selectboard, to whom it may concern. We currently own both sides of the Carroll Trail in Newfane, Vermont, as listed above, which is 00E016, 00E019. We are requesting that the Newfane Select Board, on their own motion, move to discontinue Carroll Trail from Hunter Brook Road to a point at 50 feet short of the Newfane Dover town line. We are asking for this as the trail cannot be used for vehicular travel as there is no way to cross the brook. We are asking for this now as we recently purchased the Leckard and Lee property that bordered our property in Hunter Brook Road. Thank you for your consideration. Regina Warner, President, BNW Real Estate Ventures, Inc. I did ask Jay to go out and take a look at it, in which it's in his report, so what say the board? Is
I
there
make a motion, we throw that section up, all the way around it.
to discontinue Carroll Trail from Hunter Brook Road,
Yeah.
as written in the letter?
For vehicular traffic. Specifically was what they were asking.
Move to discontinue Carroll Trail from Hunter Brook Road to a point of 50 feet short of the Newfane Dover town line. They're asking it because it cannot be used for vehicular traffic, so all the way around, I believe, is their request, is to not be used as a trail anymore. And that is your motion, Mike?
Yeah.
Is there a second? Anyone?
I said I second, but I have a question.
Discussion.
Yes, that would be the right time. So just explain to me what it actually means to discontinue it, and I mean, operationally, what does that mean we have to do? Put signs up? What?
Well, that would be on them, right, Jay? If we were to discontinue the trail, you're on mute.
There we go. I think to discontinue it, I think you have to bring it up at like 2 meetings or something. And I don't know the exact process, but I swear I remember something about it being done over 2 meetings, in case anybody has any objection to it. And then that's it. Right now it can be used for foot traffic, but it's a bit hard to find some sort of a trail there. I don't believe anybody actually uses it for hiking or anything. Some of our trails get used quite a bit, but that one I don't believe is. I don't see any sign of anybody using it.
But on their property that they purchased, they can put up signs that
Right.
said, not a trail.
Right.
So we're just saying pretty much that we're just not advertising it as a trail anymore? And then
Yeah, I
if people have questions about it, they can come address the board?
And then eventually, they would have to change the map to show that that little tiny piece is no longer a trail.
And that's at the state level?
Wyndham Regional would do that for us.
Okay.
So then could I request that when I find out what the proper procedure is to do this, if it is, as Jay remembers, something that needs to be brought up at 2 meetings, or if there's a time interval, because I know that certainly is true when we've made ordinance changes and things like that, that we need to give people a chance to
Weigh in.
respond. Yeah.
And to contact the Wyndham Regional Commission to see what they would do, please.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of throwing up roads and nothing when it leads to other people's property, but I think Richard and him own all the land around it now, don't they, Jay?
Yes, they own everything out there now.
All the way up to the Dover Road, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
As I say, I mean, it's going nowhere to but their land, so there's no, I mean, like I said, I'm not in favor of throwing up things like that sometimes, because somebody might have a piece of land and adjacent to it that they could, you know, put a place on, but where they own this all the way around it, there's no way they can put it, because they probably wouldn't need the guy right away across their land to get to his anyway, you know? But if you want to take the time to look into it one more week, you know,
Do you want to,
I think we have to. I don't think it's a
would you
matter of
like
want.
to withdraw your motion pending information seeking and discuss it at our next meeting?
Well, you can just table the issue.
Well, he has a motion, we have a motion on the table.
Yeah, but Anne seconded it in order to start the discussion, so you could just table this until the
I
next.
thought he had to withdraw the motion because it's actually live on the table.
Well, there's no vote yet, but it's part of the discussion. So you could table the discussion until further knowledge.
We can table a discussion, but we have to withdraw a motion that's already out there waiting to be voted on.
Okay.
What would you like to do, Mike? You made the motion.
Well, I'm not really sure I agree. Don't, I mean, just don't throw it away. You have to put something out that we've looked into it, right? That way, if it does have to have two meetings, we started the one, this one here.
Right, so we started the
I guess that's
discussion.
something that we both, with no objection from anybody, to throw it up. Or 30 days from this date or something, I don't know.
So would you like to amend your motion to say that this is
Pending.
pending research within 30 days?
Yeah, that's what it takes, 30 days, you know, just to give everybody a chance to weigh in on it, if anybody's got any complaints, you know?
So I'd say
I
about
just-
After 30 days, we'll fill up our section of it.
I just tried looking up the statute and it's more than you can read in a couple minutes, so. I thought I could run through it and find that little part, but it's more to it than that.
Thanks for trying.
Yeah.
All right, so are you amending your motion?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, is there a second to the amended motion?
I second.
Okay, so with that being said, is there any further discussion? Otherwise, it looks like 30 days from now is August 15, which is a Thursday. Our next meeting is August 19th after that. Shall we put it on for the 19th?
Yes.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, ayes have it.
And just a reminder that Juanetta will confirm what the procedure is.
Procedure is, and contact WRC to see how they would proceed with the updated map. Great.
Well, not the updated WRC. Wait,
So take it off the trail.
no, but I mean, just to confirm exactly what our process is to make this change, what we need to do.
Right.
VLCT, I think.
That's VLCT, and then also we need to contact Wyndham Regional to let them know of the change that made.
Once it's been finalized.
Right, but just to get their input as well. That way we have all of the information at the next meeting that we possibly could have.
Right.
And we'll all read that statute along with Jay, so we're all on that. Excellent. Is there anything else for the road foreman and commissioners report?
I just want to thank Jay for zooming right up to Adams Hill and taking care of the limb that fell down today across the road. You guys are awesome. I barely got out text messages and it was clear already.
We have the best road crew. Thank you all for your very
I'm
hard.
sorry, one last question. What's happening with hiring a new person?
Oh, I believe there's one application, and I guess,
I haven't had anybody else contact me. I don't know if the office has, but that's the only one that I know of.
so go interview said person? Do you need a member of the board to do the interview with you?
I'll do an initial one with Christopher, and then, you know, if we have a recommendation or whatever, we'll bring it so he can then come to the board.
Great. So we'll wait to hear from you.
Okay.
Okay, anything further for Jay?
Sorry, one last question. Should we be advertising the job anyplace else?
It was supposed to be put after the last time we discussed it out on our posting sites according to our policy, and I heard it was put in the reformer.
It was in the reformer for 4 days. It again went on to the classified at VLCT, and it's also on our town website.
Have you had anybody call with any interest on it?
No, I have not.
No, me neither.
Did we put it on front porch?
No.
No? That's fine, but just tell me why.
I was asked to do the reformer.
No, I asked if it had been.
No, I'm sorry, it did not go on the front porch forum.
Okay, and is it appropriate for it to go on front porch forum? Would that possibly be a useful
I thought that
site?
was one of our posting sites for things, according to our policy.
Is it part of our hiring policy though?
But when we're posting for things, I have it here somewhere.
But why not put it out there? I mean, and it's great that we have one applicant, and I definitely would suggest that we move forward so that they know that we're serious. But it's always helpful to have more than one candidate if they're out there.
Yeah, definitely, why not keep posting it until we
hire someone.
Set up your interview.
So I would suggest putting it out on Front Porch Forum this week.
I will do it tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, one more thing, or are you all set?
Let's say that I don't, and then I'll decide that I do, okay?
When I ask for the vote, are we all ready to vote? All those in favor to approve the road foreman and commissioner report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Thank you, and please let the crew know that we appreciate all the hard work, especially in this brutally hot weather.
I will. Do you have any problem with me just calling the town attorney for how to terminate the contract officially on the sand salt shed?
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't think Ron cares, but the state just wants to make sure we did it correctly. So.
Makes sense.
That would be fine. So we can have that going forward as well. Okay. Moving right along. Good evening, Juanetta. It's time for the administrative assistant report.
Emerald ash borer follow-up. Tree warden Bill Gunther is still waiting to hear back from somebody from the state as well as the power company. He caught a time when folks were out on vacation. In response to a dog bite report from Grace Cottage Hospital, the town clerk had verified the dogs up-to-date license and vaccination, ensuring the safety of our community. Animal Control Officer Ashley Pinger has contacted the owner, and the dog is in a 10-day in-home rabies quarantine. Carol has forwarded an email from Eric Rosenberg, a VP of Operations and Government Relations from the Brattleboro Retreat, regarding a piece of property that he wishes to donate to the Conservation Commission through Newfane. Would you like me to contact Eric via the email that Carol forwarded? Wyndham County Humane Society has sent a letter to express its heartfelt thanks to the town's generous support in appropriating $900, a testament to our community's spirit of giving. Green Up Vermont has volunteers and finances available to help towns recently affected by the floods. While Newfane was not affected this time, this information reminds us that agencies that Newfane support with social appropriations are available during a crisis. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. is the DRB Green Burial hearing. And then this Saturday, July 20th, the coin drop for Ruck Up for veterans will be near the Newfane Common. I did attach a copy of the email as well as the map location of the property. And then also attached is the Green Up email indicating what they are willing to help with communities that are in need of assistance.
Is there a motion to approve the administrative assistance report?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Anyone?
I have an item that wasn't on the list that I want to bring up.
Go for it.
At our last meeting, when we discussed the issue with the gentleman who came into the town office to tape record, we had asked you to check what the information was from VLCT about it. But specifically, the question was whether or not we could put up signs indicating that certain areas of the office, of the town offices, were private and no public was allowed. And that would then limit where someone could film. So I didn't remember what the exact ruling was and if that was something we could do. I didn't see that specifically answered in the information from VLCT, although I did not watch, I think it was a video that was included. So did you find that out, Renetta?
We can put up private office on the doors, but that would mean each door would need to be closed, and as an employee, you can invite somebody into the office. If the door is open, they could stand in the office door and still video record.
You could close the door in their face.
That is true,
Directly from VLCT?
yes.
And what about an office such as Carol and Peter's?
I received the screen protectors, but they're too small for the current monitors, so I have to exchange them and order them from Amazon rather than WB Mason because they only offered the one size.
What about?
So you can also put a sign, though, that people can't go past the counter of Carol's area.
Mm-hmm. Unless they're doing research, and if they do research, they do.
Well, then they're invited in.
But that's with an invitation that she's.
Right. Right. I think we should put those signs up. I mean, we've had these guys come, 2 or 3 times now?
Different people have come twice now.
Yeah.
Is it worth changing the office format so that computer screens, you're not sitting with your back away from the entrance and the computer screens are vulnerable? Like, can't we just flip the desk around so it's not a problem?
Well, I think people have their design of their office on their own, which is fine, but
But I think the only place I could think where that might be an issue is the assistant who works for Carol.
right,
I think all the others do not face.
yeah, his desk could be turned around possibly if he wanted it to be. The screen protectors, are those costly?
I believe they were like $67 a piece.
Okay.
But some of the monitors are like 27 inches.
But is it needed for every computer or just?
I didn't order them for mine. I ordered 2 for Carol's office, 1 for the listers and 1 for,
But the listers is a private office.
right.
Anyone who has a door is a private office.
Vulnerable is Carol.
What's that?
I think the only place where it's vulnerable is Carol and her assistant.
Yeah,
I will exchange these for the 2 that would fit their screens.
I think that would be fine.
And I would also just pursue getting the signs up, Wynette, if you could do that.
Yes,
Especially for Carol, but for the offices as well.
I consider getting one for Melissa as well, just because she's got the financial part of it going on. I think that's a reasonable thing because
So she would like one, ask her. I mean, I understand that too, but.
yeah.
But anyone who has a door has the option to shut their door and not let anyone in, but except for those 2. And then another thing to think about too is that if you're out working at the big table during the day, you have confidential information that you're working on to make sure that it is promptly picked up and put away.
And your screens are locked.
You just shut them off. So, and hopefully we can deter some more of that action from happening. All right, anything else for the administrative assistance report? I apologize, but I'm unable to attend due to a different meeting tomorrow night for the DRB Green Burial hearing. If anyone else is interested in coming to check it out. We do have to, yeah, after everything that's been happening. And number 3, I'm fine with you contacting this Eric Rosenbauer. He's Greg Record, who's the chair of the Conservation Commission. Is he aware of it at all?
Carol shared the email with Greg, but her email also indicates that any donation of property has to go through the town.
Right. I just was wondering if he was aware of it.
No, he is aware.
Yeah, would the listers want to weigh in on that too? As a parcel that's being removed from the list?
There's only $366 worth of taxes that is assessed on this property. There's no dwelling, it's just vacant land.
Yep.
But their input is also important. So how are we going to leave it? Shall we talk to this gentleman along with the listers, or check with the listers and then call him in?
It sounds like he's. Land in question. Whose land, is it actually his land?
It belongs
That's
to
the part that I don't
Brattleboro Retreat.
understand. Okay.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this?
No.
So, yeah, go ahead and give him a call. Let us know. Okay. Anything else? If not, all those in favor of approving the administrative assistance report, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained? Ayes have it. I would like to just take a moment, since we have a very special gentleman in our midst. At our last meeting, we came up with a resolution for you, Mr. Merle Tessier, and I would like to take a moment to read it and then present you with a plaque and thank you for your years of very hard work and dedication to the town of Newfane.
I get a bronze plaque too.
We'll see what we can do in the future. But this is a resolution, whereas Merle Tessier joined the town of Newfane staff on July 9, 2012, and served in the position of zoning administrator and 911 coordinator, and whereas Merle Tessier retired from the town of Newfane on June 28, 2024, having served the community of Newfane for 12 years. And whereas Merle Tessier, throughout his career, exemplified the mission of the town of Newfane to provide services and resources and knowledge to support the development of the community. And whereas the dedication of Merle Tessier to serve the community cannot be understated. And whereas Merle Tessier has served as a mentor to his colleagues and trained his replacement, now therefore be resolved that the Newfane Select Board hereby thanks Merle Tessier for his years of dedicated service to the community and to the people of Newfane, and wish him the very best in his retirement. So it is an honor to give this to you today, and thank you so much for your years of service.
I gave it because I probably can't.
I'm sorry I'm not there, Merle, but thank you.
You're still on for a little while to resolve a couple other things.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know what to do with them.
We'll keep you on for a while. You can come in anytime.
I guess tomorrow I'll find out.
Well, we really do appreciate all of your hard work and everything you've done for the town of Newfane.
Yeah, if I could just figure out what day I'm in.
Whenever you want, because every day ends in Y. Just remember that now your best day is your day. Anyone else have any words for Merle? Well, then we'll just
Thank
jump
you.
right into the planning commission. I don't know if Jane's still with us. There she is.
Hi, Jane.
I fell asleep for a while, but I'm back.
Okay, well, thanks for being honest. You have the floor for any updates you may have.
The last time I was there were a lot of questions when I first presented the proposed short-term rental ordinance. There were a lot of questions about neighboring towns and what they're doing for fees. I have to say, the first thing to say about all these short-term rental ordinances is every single town is completely different. There is no consistency with these. There's no consistency across the state. Many towns have basic, our immediate neighbors, Dover has a proposed ordinance, which is a one-pager, very simple, very little requirements, whereas Dummerston has, their only requirement for short-term rentals is that you get a conditional use permit. So what they're requiring for the conditional use, they don't really say. I tried to talk to somebody, but I haven't got a hold of anybody yet. Well, then I tried looking at towns further out. Brattleboro has a rental registry for all rentals. There is no fee, but everyone must register. So, and they have some sort of review to verify that all the town or state regulations have been satisfied for rentals. Grafton has an annual registry. They charge $150 for a owner-occupied short-term rental and $300 for a non-owner occupied. That's per year. Wilmington has a very huge short-term rental zoning permit, many pages, a lot of requirements. Their fee is 10 cents per square foot of the short-term rental facility. That's the annual registration fee. So it depends on the size of the short-term rental. I mean, if you go further out, most of the other towns that have short-term rental ordinances are mostly ski towns. Burlington has the biggest short-term rental ordinance, a lot of requirements. I couldn't even find, the requirement was so long, I never found how much the registration fee is in it. Chester, it's $150 a year for hosted, $600 per year for unhosted or non-owner occupied. Dorset has a pretty straightforward form, and it's $300 a year per short-term rental, no requirements whether it's owner occupied or not. Killington looked to be the most expensive. It was very big fees, although I couldn't quite figure out what the max fee would be. There was a great long formula for calculating it. Other towns that have them, Montpelier, Manchester, Montgomery, Morrisville, Plymouth, Pownell, Rutland. I mean, every single one of them is something different. And so I really think it's just whatever the select board wants, that's what we'll do, you know. There's no good consistent formula or format. Some towns require all kinds of, you know, verification for the state requirements, and some never mention it. It's really all over the roadmap.
Sounds it. Any questions for Jane at this point?
No?
Anne?
Sorry, I forgot I was on mute. I just said thank you for doing that research. I appreciate having the information, and I could hear just how unruly it is, how it is all over the place.
It's like every town has come up with their own solution based on what they think the problem is.
Right.
No, Woodstock was trying to limit the number of short-term rentals. That got thrown out of the courts.
Mm-hmm.
They've now got a new proposed one, which looks very similar, but they're just doing it through fees to try to make it more expensive for non-owner occupied. Like I said, it really, you know, I wish there was some pattern to these things, but there is no pattern. Everybody's is completely different.
Right.
And it really is, what are you looking for? If you want to do nothing but a registry, and some of them are just a registration, very little else beyond that. You know, there's no oversight for the state regulations or compliance with that. It's whatever you want to put in. I mean, I hear that you don't want us to have something that we have to administer. I'll
tell you from my personal viewpoint, I like the idea of having a registry. I like having the information of knowing how many Airbnb short-term rentals we have in the town, how many are hosted versus non-hosted. I find that information useful to know. I see how, as a town, we could use that information as part of our planning process. Anything beyond that, I don't know how we would use the information. So I'm not personally in favor of asking questions about how often they are renting out, or how much money they're making, or any of that. I feel like if we don't have a reason to use the information, I don't see why we would be asking the questions.
I think it would be important to use for our emergency personnel and services as well, so we know what we're looking at if we have to respond somewhere.
I would add that yesterday in Destin, Florida, an Airbnb burned down completely with 8 people inside of it, and they just barely got out with all of their lives with burns. And it went up like that.
It's just nice to know what you're looking at. But yeah, I agree with you on that. It's nice to have a registry so we know what we're looking at.
Right.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that we don't have the capacity to to go out and monitor these things, and I don't think there's really a. I think we'll get tremendous pushback from the town if we were to try to do that, unless we had a really darn good reason for why we were going out and inspecting or the like. I would say if we don't do that for rental properties, and as far as I know we don't, then I don't know why we would start doing that for short-term rentals.
The rental properties do have to follow basic fire stuff. They have to.
But don't short-term rentals have to as well?
In theory, yes.
Okay.
Are they?
But
Right.
I think most of the towns that are asking for like the copy of the business tax license and the fire marshal's certificate, all they're doing is asking to verify that that has been done.
I would have no problem if we wanted to do that as a way of safeguarding. I would also want to make sure we do that for rental properties as well. I would just want to make sure that we're being even-handed about it.
Currently, we do nothing for rental properties. Do you want this to cover all rentals? I mean, not just short-term rentals, because some towns do cover all rentals. Brattleboro does.
My personal opinion is that it would be information that is very useful to have. So I would find it useful if we were to gather the information on all rentals, long-term and short-term. I think it would tell us a lot in terms of planning going forward.
I concur.
I couldn't hear.
Most towns are calculating short-term rentals with the eye of looking at imposing the local room tax option, which means that the town would mean the town would get the extra 1% from every short-term rental done.
I understand, but we're not there yet. If we get to that, we would then have the registry available to let us know how much we might gain. And if what we're doing is creating a registry, and it would have to be either our administrative assistant or our zoning administrator's job to collect the information and maintain it, I see having a small fee to cover the administrative tasks, but I don't see that we're in a position to make it onerous. And I personally don't think that this is the way to try to raise money for the town. I don't think that there's a significant amount of money that we would raise. And I'm under the impression, although I would love to know the actual details, I'm under the impression that probably the majority of our short-term rentals are hosted, just from having looked at the website in the past.
No, they're not. Actually, the majority are unhosted.
In Newfane?
Yeah, the AirDNA data that I got that's several years old now was that most of them were unhosted. So in other words, the house, whatever is rented, the whole place.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I would find that information really useful to know. And, whatever, if we could start here and assess the data, and there's nothing to say that we can't change it going forward if we found that it would be useful to raise it. You've done a tremendous amount of research and an analysis of all the data. I really, really do appreciate it, Jane. I just personally would say that what I would find useful is just knowing what it is we have on a rental perspective, long-term, short-term, hosted, non-hosted.
So who would go out and make that list?
Say it again.
Who would go out and make that list of long-term, short-term?
Well, it would become an ordinance. We'd have to follow whatever the rules are to create a new ordinance. And then people would be required, just like they have to register their dogs, to register their own property.
Okay.
So I can add to the facet just a little bit. There are clearly some state regulations for long-term rentals, right? And Section 8 has a whole nother list of extremely technical stuff that includes like wired fire alarms and things like that. And there are people that are doing that already, and it should not be unreasonable to ask any renters or to ask any rental person to be preparing for the emergencies, because that's what happens. Emergencies happen.
So what specifically do you want to ask them, Katie, to
I
show?
think it's great to have a list and have that fire marshal approval and make sure that they are following the state guidelines for dwellings, which include things like having a working stove and all of the other things that we've learned recently.
So you want someone to go out and inspect?
Well, I do believe most rental properties need to be inspected, correct?
By whom?
The state inspects, the fire marshal inspects all rental properties supposedly.
Okay.
So where do we go from here to start creating such?
They might request if they have a list to give it to us. Whoever they are, I'm not sure who they are, but them.
Them?
The fire marshals?
Yeah, I don't know how you get information from the fire marshal. That's outside of my area of expertise. All I know is that things ask for the fire marshal certificate as part of the annual registration.
Well, I could see asking for a copy of it, so we know that they have it.
Yeah, that's what most of them seem to do, is just ask for a copy of the proof that they've had it done.
Right.
So where do we go from here now that we've had all this feedback?
I mean, it is the way I can go back through it again and see whether, what we put together so far has all those areas in it indicated, and I haven't made any kind of a registration form yet. The form is another way that you list all the requirements for people. Most towns are doing it once a year annually.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it means that everybody has to register the same time every year. It's not something where you don't have to keep track of have these people registered since last year, if they're all staggered in different dates. So it's more, like dog licenses. You get a dog license for a dog for a year. It's
Reasonable. Register your dog, register your rental. There you go.
yeah. All right, we'll go through it again, but I know it's very difficult because so many of them are very detailed, and then so many of them are very vanilla and not much detail and requirement. And it really is just for me trying to get a sense for how much of a requirement burden you want to have in this.
I'm thinking just at this point, we're just looking to have a list of what we have for long-term and short-term so that we know as far as the town, and if we do move forward with anything further, or even just emergency services, just to have that knowledge to make sure all of our rental properties, or the town's rental properties are listed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and most of them are going to be, the registration fee. With the ordinance can literally just say the select board will determine the fees. And that way you can set the fees every year or change them when you want them and not include them in the ordinance.
That's a good suggestion.
For other towns.
I'm sorry, what?
Who handles and collects those fees for other towns? Is it the town clerk or is there a special person?
Most towns, it looks like the zoning administrator seems to have something to do with it.
I would bet that's because they're employees as opposed to being elected. You can't just create a new role for the elected officials.
Right, I'm just curious what other, who would do it and who does it in other towns.
Yeah, most towns, it seems to be, they refer to a short-term rental administrator, but the short-term rental administrator is generally the zoning administrator as well. Yeah.
More to look at.
All right, we'll try refining it a little bit more and send you another round.
Keep on
Thank you,
trucking.
Jane.
Before you go, Jane, I just have one last question. And there was a piece in what I read, I don't have it in front of me, but it was about
The first round.
how many people can be in a home, which I liked. It said 2 people per bedroom plus 2 in the living room. Because a lot of Airbnbs have bunk beds and 6 beds in one room and all sorts of craziness because there are people that are in and out on a regular basis. And I really liked that piece of writing because, well, we already have septic requirements for houses that are figured out as so many people per room. And I think it just falls together well to stay within that.
I can put that back in. I think I took it out at one point. I know we've discussed it quite a lot in the planning commission back and forth as to whether put limitations on the number of people allowed in a house or in a rental at a time. I've gotten the impression you wanted less,
That's important
requirement.
information though.
I don't that piece of information. So if you have a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom home, and that means you can have 6 or 8 people, but you can't have 15. And that's a really big difference for our volunteer firefighters, if that were to happen.
Isn't that something that would be covered by the fire marshal and the clearance they have to get from them? I don't want to.
But it's already part of our zoning as far as septic permits go. So we shouldn't be taxing septics. That's kind of my point. Everybody has a septic system here.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the fire marshal certificate has any limitation. I think there is some sort of limitation based on what the sewer capacity is.
Yeah.
So there is some limitation there. I don't know. I could try to find out from the fire marshal people as to whether they have a limit on the number of people allowed in a building. But there again, get back to what kind of enforcement are you going to be doing?
Right.
It's if you know someone has 15 people sleeping in one bedroom in a short-term rental, who's going to find it and who's going to,
Do something about it.
Who's going to find them for?
It won't matter until it really matters. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Until it really matters.
All right, so we'll look forward to our research and keep working on this.
I will. Thanks a lot.
All of your hard work, thank you so much. And like I said, if you need anything, holler, Jane. All right, moving along, we did the Green Mountain Power. We are now up to unscheduled members of the public. Don't see any new business, none old business. We'll table Jeff's project since he's not here. We'll go to Ann if there's any updates on.
I can't hear you.
Any updates on the FEMA?
FEMA update, Ange?
Can't hear. Something's.
Something's
Hello?
It looks
I
like our,
can't hear you.
it looks like our audio's off. The X is up. And the video's off too.
No, he's got it through his feed.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just putting your phone on. Can you hear us, Ann? Hello? I think it might be on her end.
Can you hear us, Anne?
Ooh, that was fun.
We could hear her. Unless that was
Well, any FEMA
Now
updates?
I hear you.
Oh, hi! Any FEMA updates?
See, I just didn't want to give them. We are, we believe that we don't have an absolute date for the sale to close, but we believe it will be on or close to August 1st.
Great.
We have the folks who will do the brownfield cleanup, the remediation. We hope that they will start mid-August. And then today we had a meeting with the state, Melissa and I, and Alyssa from the from the WRC, and we went over, and Jay was there as well, and we went over the whole demolition process and what we need to do. And so we've got all those details, and we'll start working on the RFPs to get those completed and ready to send out. And anything else happening there? That's it.
RFP. It's the, can you tell us what an RFP is? We're forgetting what the acronym means.
Request for proposal.
Thank you.
And that's for the companies to do the demolition?
That's correct.
Because there's a lot of FEMA guidelines that you have to follow.
Yes, it's not like a simple just knock this building down. It's knock this down, fill out this paperwork, state what date you did you did this and this, do all this testing, on and on and on. So you really want to work with a company that has experience doing it for FEMA, or else FEMA will reject it and we'll end up having to pay for it, which we don't want.
Right. Well, excellent. Sounds like it's moving right along.
It is.
Anything else for the South Newfane store?
No.
Not? Policy, personnel policy is still?
I am still waiting on our
Feedback.
lawyer, and I have put in a phone call to him last week and still have not heard anything, so I will poke them again.
You want me to shoot an email tomorrow?
Sure. Me calling the office didn't work, so that'd be swell.
I usually see him as I'm walking into work in the morning. Huh?
The date they were closing and did not.
Oh.
Say that again? Sorry.
I think he was out of the office because I had sent him an email to get the final closing date, and I did not hear back from him. So we called his office and spoke to one of his assistants.
I see him often walking to work in the morning, so. All right, invasive plant treatment, any updates, or are we still waiting to hear?
Nothing more at this point.
Okay. Town website?
We had a meeting.
Go ahead, Katie.
We had a meeting with Bauman today and have some next points to do. And we have another meeting in a couple weeks.
Great.
And then hopefully Anne will also be setting up a meeting with Echo Pixel as well, just to hear their pitch. Oh, you did? Wonderful. When are we doing that? I haven't checked.
The same date, the 29th.
The 29th.
Summer.
Sorry.
You should have an email telling you about it in your inbox.
Okay.
Great, so look forward to hearing more about that. Emerald Ash Borer is continued. We've done our correspondence. I'd like to take a moment to suspend this meeting at 7:19 and open up a Newfane Board of Liquor Control meeting. So I'm calling that to order. Has this been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
We'd like to review an application for 1832 Tavern Corporation, the Four Columns, for a first-class hotel liquor license and third-class hotel liquor license. Letter from Carol Hasselbeck, our wonderful town clerk, states that she has received the applications for a first-class hotel liquor license and third-class hotel liquor license for the Four Columns under the name of 1832 Tavern Corp. Since this is a new owner applying for a liquor license, I'm asking the Liquor Control Board to review the applications. There's a fee for the first-class liquor license, and that's about the fee, so here we are. Is there a motion to approve said liquor licenses?
I make a motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
What's
Do
the
I
difference between a first class and a third class? Why do they need both?
So is this the Four Columns?
Yeah.
First class, I believe, is hard alcohol, and the other one's wine and beer.
Right, this one's just a beer and wine, right?
Yep. And hard liquor.
Wonderful.
Is there any place I need to sign, or can I just write on here? No.
Just sign on the memo. Thank
All
you.
right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, oppose, abstain, ayes have it. Is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Liquor Control at 7:20. Thank you, Mike. Now we'll go right back into the select board meeting, and is there a motion for Katie and I to do the pay orders and payroll?
I make such a motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, ayes have it, and with that, I'd like to thank everyone who is here tonight. I'd like to thank the public for watching, and everyone stay safe and have a good evening.